back with another FPM podcast, Ski Like the Pros edition. This time we're going to take a look at the Swiss Pro event from just a couple weeks ago. And really what I'm going to try to do is keep it super short, but we're talking about movement. And some of you may have heard this before. I'm sure many of you have heard this kind of concept before of trying to keep your body still and trying to kind of limit movement on the ski as kind of a good thing, right? What I'm going to say is those skiers who can move their body more relative to their feet, or move their feet and their ski more relative to their body, manipulate their ski in space, are the better skiers. That's kind of contrary to what you may have heard in the past, but I'm going to kind of point out just in a rotational plane why that's true with two skiers from the Swiss Pro, two pro skiers. But maybe in future podcasts, we'll talk more about kind of movement overall, like fore, aft, left, right, and changing the shape of your body and how the control of that, how the ability to control the shape of your body and the location of your body relative to your ski can make you a better skier. All right, before I get started, I want to give you just a quick hypothetical or just a quick thought experiment. Okay, think about you as a water skier, all right, behind the boat. And now I want you to think about a tube being pulled behind the boat. Think about the difference. What's the difference when we talk about a water skier versus a tube? Now, it's not very hard for you to come up with that kind of response or that the answer. It's that the tube is at the mercy of the driver. We know, that's why we love driving tubers, all right? Whereas a water skier is not at the mercy of where the boat's going. The water skier has control of their destiny by manipulating their body, by creating movement from manipulating their body and creating differences in balance points, right? So the more you have control over your balance and the more you're able to manipulate and control that balance, the more you can roll the ski on edge, the more you can pressure the tip or the tail, and the more you can control your movement. Therefore, you're in control of your own destiny, and it all goes back to movement on the ski. Okay, let's take a look before I get too long-winded, because as you know, I love to talk about this all day. We're going to try to keep this one short. Let's take a look at two skiers, two left foot forward skiers from the Swiss Pro just a little bit ago in Florida. This is Joel Poland and Jaeden Eade. Let's go to the gates. I'm going to show you first that we are both basically trying to sync them up, right? So here we have Jaeden, right-hand gate ball. Here we have Joel, right-hand gate ball. As close as I could get them with the frame rate. By the way, TWBC, absolutely killing it. If you haven't watched any of their broadcasts, I'm sure you're living under a rock because they're the best in the business. If there's a tournament that's not broadcast by TWBC, the Water Ski Broadcasting Company, I tend to not usually watch it because it's painful. So, Vince, Tony, everybody at TWBC, thank you for doing what you're doing. Thank you for letting me use the broadcast to pull back the curtain on water skiing and what makes people better skiers. Okay, so I linked them up, all right? So you can see right-hand gate ball, 32 off. Try to keep this kind of applicable. I know sometimes when we go coach the pros or, I do the Ski Like the Pros, I'm talking about 39 or 41 off. This is 32 off. This is an opener. This is something that more skiers can relate to. Even if you're at 32 miles an hour, 15 off, you might be able to pull something from this for your own skiing. So just wanted to show you they're both synced up. Let me back it up though, all right? Let me talk about a couple things. We're talking about movement on the ski and the ability to create efficient movement by using your body to create movement relative to your ski. So two left foot forward skiers, and they're both synced up. So what they're doing here is kind of analogous. And what I want to show first and foremost is these are both the same camera angles, right? So look at Jaeden's position here. And again, Jaeden's a phenomenal skier. He's young, he's up and coming. He's going to be one to watch. But obviously we know Joel's capabilities. He skied well in this event. He ran 41 off last year at the World Championships. He's more refined and more skilled skier, okay? So look at Jaeden's body here versus Joel's. You can see that Jaeden's just a little bit further back on the ski. If we look at Joel relative to his feet, Joel's got this lean angle, and we look at Jaeden relative to his feet, he's got this lean angle. So you can see Joel's more advanced with his body. His feet are more behind his center mass. If we put a center mass here and a center mass here, you can see Joel slightly more ahead of his feet with a center mass, all right? So that's important. Number one, you can see how much ski's in the water here versus Jaeden's got a little more ski out of the water. But I just want to point out how Joel has gotten there is he's taken a leap of faith, and he's just allowing, whether he knows it or not, he does know it because he's a phenomenal skier. But in this position, his body is more moving in the direction he wants to go. All right, more efficiently than Jaeden. And Jaeden is actually more kind of just leveraging away from the boat. And that's how they get into these respective positions. All right, let's zoom back out and we'll go to the gate glide. One thing I'll point out, look at, because of the efficiency that Joel has here in stance, because he's using his body to move in the direction he wants to go, whereas Jaeden's kind of, he started to, here you can see his feet were behind the rope, right? But as he started to leverage, this happens to a lot of skiers, the feet get between him and the boat. Watch what happens to the spray off the ski. See this spray right here? Watch what happens to the spray off the ski. See how it gets dirty with Jaeden? How it does that little wobble? That's because he's basically just leveraging and wedging water away from the boat now. He's not accepting that load through his feet as drive outbound. He's just kind of got his feet between him and the boat, and he's creating this kind of situation where the ski wants to go, but it can't, because as soon as it tries to go, it gets in front of him, and then he has to find balance again. So you get this kind of unstable leverage position, and that's why you see that wobbly spray off his ski. Other thing I want to point out, position. You see Joel is just a little bit more over his ski than Jaeden. Not much different, but just a little bit more. The more vertical the line, the more over the skier is. But most importantly, let's get into the bread and butter, what we want to talk about. So remember, both these skiers are going to catch up to each other and be in the exact same spot, pretty much at the right-hand gate ball. But Jaeden is already at the whitewater, and Joel is, I don't know, maybe 2 feet with his front foot, 2 feet away from the whitewater. So what does that mean? If Joel and Jaeden are going to end up in the same spot over here, right? But Joel is further behind Jaeden, what does that mean? That means Joel is going to go faster from this point all the way to the right-hand gate ball, because he's behind Jaeden right now, but they're going to end up in the same spot. Watch. Same spot. That means Joel traveled faster from here to here. Okay? Now, what does that mean? How did he do it? Well, I'll tell you one thing. He's got a one-handed gait, so he's already got the ski away from him. He's able to create more of a turn. Just in general, as skiers, if you notice that you're kind of drifting in on that turn, or you're kind of falling back on the ski as you turn in, like you see Jaeden here. See that? Look at Joel. He's got the ski more initiated, right? You can see that. He's got much more ski in the water, whereas Jaeden, the water's breaking between his front foot, at the arch of his front foot, basically. So he's already kind of falling back on the ski. So that creates drag, that creates less efficiency. But also, as soon as the load comes here, you see that Joel is just slightly more ahead of his feet. Again, movement. That's the whole point of this talk today, is movement creates efficiency, and movement is how you control your destiny. The more you can move on your ski at the right time, in this instance, under load, the more efficient you get, and the more speed, and therefore the more angle you get. Now, how am I going to prove it to you? Well, it's basically about this distance. It's about the distance from Joel's front foot to the rope. How far is that? Versus the distance from Jaeden's front foot to the rope. How far is that? That's part of it. The other part is, look at the stance. You can see that Joel's just a little bit more stacked and erect, and Jaeden's just got a little bit of a kink in his body here. Those things add up. Those little movements add up. But I don't want to get too hung up on that, so let's keep going. So we notice that Joel has a little more speed, and you can see that because his ski is already outside the whitewater and Jaeden's just exiting the whitewater. Now, what do you notice about these two skiers, position-wise? Can we notice anything? Right here through this phase, 32 off. Look at how much more tall or elongated Joel is, right here, versus Jaeden, right? And this happens to a lot of skiers. So as you get through that second wake or that transition zone, whether it's 32.15 or it's 32.36, the more you get compressed, the more you kind of allow your position or your movement to get crushed, right, by the ski trying to get through, what happens? The more your mass goes back, right? You can see that Jaeden's mass is further behind his feet than Joel's, with all else being equal, okay? So that's one thing I want to point out. Now, watch this. As a result of that, Joel being a little taller than Jaeden, watch the ski, the attitude of the ski as they get into this zone where they want to come into the buoy. Now you can see Joel, he's taken the handle and he's taken it forward. So same perspective, same camera angle, right? Where's Joel's handle relative to Jaeden's, right? See the difference there? I'm not going to tell you to do any of these things that I'm pointing out by themselves. I'm trying to help you understand. So what we want to do to break this down, what we want to get to is movement. Movement relative to the ski. And now I'm talking about movement in the rotational plane today. I'm talking about movement relative, hips and shoulders relative to the direction the ski's pointing. This is very important. If the hips and shoulders are always facing the same direction the ski's pointing, that's less movement relative to the ski than if you can have some slack in the system where your hips and shoulders can move relative to your ski, so that coming into maybe two ball, your hips and shoulders are in a different orientation than when you're coming into one ball, okay? And you see that here with Joel. Watch as the handle's coming forward, you see Joel's shoulder position and hip position has changed completely. If we back it up just a little bit, couple frames, Joel and Jaeden's shoulder position relatively the same. Some people would actually say Jaeden's in a better position because that lead shoulder's down, but what's actually more important is Joel's position on the ski and his ability from here outbound to find front foot support. And part of the way he's doing that is he's allowing the ski to come back underneath him. This is a simplified version, right? But you hear a lot of times people say stand up, right? Stand up over the ski as you come into the buoy. Does that make sense? And you see Jaeden's kind of a little bit more back and a little bit more compressed. But really what we mean when we say stand up is we want to think about standing over that front foot or refinding that stance over the front foot coming into that preturn. One of the ways to do it is with rotational movement, okay? So you watch Joel, shoulders here, facing more at the, you can see him from the boat, and then a couple frames later as I advance it, right here, you see as he's approaching the widest part, you can't even see his back shoulder, right? Same with Jaeden, but Jaeden's reach was at the boat the whole time. Let's back it up and we can watch them both. So Jaeden's reach, if you see, as soon as he lets off with that offhand, that reaching arm goes straight to the boat. And because of that, you can see the orientation of his body is more back, right? Joel's more stacked over that front foot and Jaeden's more leaned back, and you can also tell by how much ski's in the water. See Jaeden's ski in the water versus Joel's ski in the water. The water's breaking on Joel quite a bit further forward. Another thing you can do, and this is all just tips for future reference, another thing you can use to test or to check how somebody's weight is distributed coming into the buoy, your own skiing, by the way, is when you watch your video, watch how the spray is coming off the ski. Okay, if the spray is coming off the ski shallow, like this, that means you're more engaging the front of the ski's flatter, it's more trimmed out. Whereas if you can see the water coming off the front of your body from the boat perspective, see the difference here? See how much steeper Jaeden's spray is coming off his ski? That means he's more back. That means he's decelerating. That means he's starting to initiate the turn sooner, but we don't want to do that. We want to use our position, we want to use our body movement to ski to the widest part as far as we can, so that now we've done all that outbound movement, we're ready to come back in naturally. And that's one of the things that Joel does really, really good. I don't know how he thinks about it. I haven't talked to him about this, but one thing you can notice here for sure is his reach is a little more forward and a little lower. And you can also see that his shoulders and hips, that inside left hip and inside left shoulder here, they're coming forward to get him lined up over his front foot. And you see in Jaeden's case, that inside shoulder is staying back. Sorry, the inside shoulder is staying back, and that inside hip isn't necessarily coming forward either. So that's why you see his thigh angle and his ski angle much further back than Joel's here. So what's the result? What's the outcome of these, right? Because that's what we really should be talking about is, okay, well, why does that matter? And I'll tell you why it matters, because as they get to the ball, you can see Joel gets there just a slight bit earlier, but Jaeden has already been pressing on the back of the ski. So he just kind of stayed in the same position through transition and into the buoy. He wasn't ever able to reclaim kind of front foot position by using what I would call rotational movement. Rotational movement by meaning inside hip, reaching shoulder, reaching hand forward. It's just one way to think about it. And therefore, watch the backside of the ball. You see Joel's already got the ski more turned. The rope's already just a little tighter. And you see Jaeden's now still waiting to find position, whereas the spray off of Joel's ski, right? The spray's already coming off Joel's ski nice and clean. Jaeden's got this low spray kink in it, which means that he's not really moving water yet. That means he's not starting to drive towards the wakes. So Joel's got more time under load. That's one of the keys to using movement to control your destiny, is how soon out of the ball can you get the rope tight, get your body in the right position like you see Joel here, and already be moving and accelerating under the load of the boat. The sooner you can get the acceleration to start out of the ball, the more space you can create before that next ball. So that's just one of the outcomes, right? That's one of the things that I wanted to point out about movement relative to the ski, or movement of the ski relative to your body. Another thing that we'll point out here, again, these are two phenomenal skiers, okay? And two of the best in the world, actually. But what I want to point out is the stance. You can see it's a very minor difference. Part of it stems from what happened at the turn, but just look at the difference in stance where you see Joel's got his kind of hips extended. So if we could zoom all the way in, and we could look at the angle of his hip to his femur right there, basically this angle right here, it would be much smaller of an angle, much more extended than, much more extended than this angle right here of Jaeden's femur to his torso. So this angle right here, see the difference? That extension, that extra height, not only creates better leverage, but it creates more mass shift. So you see Joel's getting more drive because of that. He's getting more movement to the wakes because of more than Jaeden, okay? All right, I think we're just probably, there's so much to talk about. It's fun to dissect these two skiers, right? Again, what I want to point out is rotational movement. That's what we're talking about. Let's talk about this. Outbound into two, offside, 32 off, 36 miles an hour, Swiss Pro. We got Jaeden Eade on the left. We've got Joel Poland on the right. I want you to notice something. Notice the relationship because of what happened here, because of the position here. Watch what happens from second wake out. Look at how close Joel is able to keep his body to the handle. Now, maybe it's because Joel, obviously he's a little older, he's got more skill, he's been practicing more, he's got more reps at 32 off than Jaeden. But also, Joel is one of the best trick skiers in the world and jumpers in the world. He's an anomaly, he's a freak, but he's very aware of handle control, especially from tricking. That's my quarterback opinion, armchair quarterback opinion. But Look at how much closer his body is to the handle. That's an important thing to note. Whereas Jaeden's arms are more an extension of the rope right now, Joel is wrapping up, in my opinion, in this arm, and he's creating tension through that arm, through that lead arm going outbound, okay? Now, what's the result of that? As we go a few more frames, you see that outside arm and that connection to the body accelerates his body, okay? This is higher level, but stick with me for a sec. I'll get to more basics in a sec. So the closer you are to your body here, or the closer you keep your body to the handle rather, the more your body can take that inside track. Think about track and field. If you're on the inside lane, for running the same speed, you get further ahead than the outside lane. Okay, that's what Joel's doing. By keeping his body close to the handle, he's allowing his body to travel further up than his ski. And his ski is traveling this wider path. And in that regard, he's able to allow his body to catch up to his feet again. All right, that may not have made sense, but watch what happens. As he prioritizes that connection to the handle and that lead arm tension here, he's able, right there. Do you see that? You guys see what I'm talking about? Position again, stance over the front foot, whereas Jaeden has much more backward lean coming into the ball. Now you would think, okay, well, Jaeden's in a better position because he's decelerating, right? He's got his feet more ahead of him. He's got his tip more up. Look at Joel. Joel's got almost all the tip in the water. Jaeden's got, maybe it's wetted up to his front toe. But regardless, you would think, okay, well, Jaeden's preparing to turn. He's trying to slow down. We don't want to think about turning quite like that. We want to think about turning more in terms of, remember, if you haven't seen it, go back. 4 rules for swinging high on the boat. It's a podcast we did a little bit ago, maybe 4 weeks ago. One of the rules is maintaining speed outbound and swinging as high as you can on the boat, because that gets you to the wide point and allows you to ski a longer path and allows you to manage that speed and turn from a wider point and end up negotiating a better turn. Okay, so how do we do that? Well, let's talk about that. Getting long-winded, but I'm going to cut it off after this, I promise, and we'll maybe revisit these guys in another episode. But Joel has stayed close. He stayed closer to the handle longer. Look at specifically right here. He's staying close and he's prioritizing that. I think he's got tension in both arms, but especially in that lead arm. Whereas Jaeden, you can see his hips are already further away from the handle. Joel's hips are not very far away from the handle, okay? So that's one thing. But as he gets pulled forward over the ski, he's taking his shoulders and he's trying to address the buoy, right? So movement, again, movement with the shoulders, with the hips. He's addressing that buoy with his chest. That's one way to think about it, okay? Whereas Jaeden, he's still staying more or less open, square to the boat. And because of that, he never is able to catch back up to his feet, okay? Watch this. They go to reach. As they go to reach, watch Jaeden's reach versus Joel's. Jaeden's reach, watch the handle. Jaeden's handle goes from here to here, and Joel's handle goes from here to here. Watch the difference. I'm going to go slow. See that? One handle goes back, one handle goes forward and down. And look at the difference in the approach, right? We're close to the ball. Look at the lean difference, fore and aft, right? We're talking about movement that dictates better results, movement to control the destiny or the outcomes on the ski. Joel has now caught back up to his ski. He's more balanced over his front foot, and you can see Jaeden is kind of preempting that turn and thinking, he's not thinking about this, he's learning to be a better skier. But he's more back, he's reaching inside, and the shoulders and the hips never really moved relative to the ski, whereas now look at Joel's shoulders and hips. The shoulders and hips are now turned to the outside, if you will, of the ski, or at least down course, right? That's a big difference. That's a big difference. If we back it up, you see here, Joel's shoulders and hips aren't facing the direction the ski is pointing, are they? No, they're probably facing, not quite open to the boat all the way, but they're probably facing here, maybe towards 2, but he's not going towards 2 yet. He's way up course at 2, all right? And then watch this. As he comes into the buoy, initiates that reach, he's changing the orientation of his hips and shoulders to his ski, and that's also allowing him to finish that movement over his front foot. And much like a pitcher, a wind-up is key. The wind-up in the turn is key. You have to touch a point. Think about a pitcher. A pitcher, the better you can pitch, the more you can wind up, the more your arm's behind the release point. That means you have a longer amount of travel with the hand on the ball, but also there's a rotational element. The more you can rotate relative to home plate, the more you can swing, allow the arm to wind up back, the more you can impart energy on that ball before you let go of it and throw it over home plate. Sorry for all you non-Americans. I had to use a baseball analogy, but think about Joel's movement from second whitewater and out to apex as a windup. And watch what I'm talking about. You see that? As soon as he reaches that point where he's reached max stance over his front foot right here, now he's ready. He's wound all the way up here. Now he's ready to start initiating that turn, and he has a place to move. He's taken his hips, shoulders at least down course, if not slightly outbound at apex, and now he has a place to move from there, whereas Jaeden has never really changed his shoulder or hip orientation, and of course offside's harder, but he's never changed his shoulder or hip orientation from the time he lets go all the way until he's ready to make the turn. And watch the outcome. Very marked difference, right? Of course, different skis, different body sizes, but watch the outcome. Joel's ski is wrapping, and Jaeden's ski at some point had to overbite to kill speed and then release, and he wastes a bunch of time. And you can see Joel is much further ahead now into the first trough. And you can see that plain as day. So, it's a lot to cover. We talk about movement and how you control your own destiny as a skier. But what I really wanted to establish today with these two skiers was this idea, the old idea is wrong, that the more still and the more stagnant, or the more the less you move on the ski, the better you're gonna ski. That's wrong. You go look at any sport, right? Go look at mountain biking or snow skiing. The more a skier can move at the right times, not just random, right? Not willy-nilly, but the more the skier can move, or the biker, or whatever the athlete, insert whatever athlete you want, the more movement you can get relative to the connection point, relative to the bike tires, relative to where your ski is, the better skier you're gonna be if you can do it at the right times. It's all about being able to manage and utilize your ability to move. Of course, we talked today about just rotational movement, so that your hips and shoulders aren't always facing the direction your ski is facing. If you're skiing that way, where your hips and shoulders are always trying to face the direction the tip's facing, I'm sorry, but you're probably leaving some potential on the table. You're probably not skiing as good as you can ski. If you have questions, obviously leave a comment below. If you want to hit us up on Instagram, or you want to ask more about FPM, we talk about that more on the platform. But I hate to say this, I think there's a better way. If you're just simply trying to keep your hips and shoulders always facing the direction the ski's pointing, hopefully this sparked an idea. Hopefully this kind of showed you that there's maybe a better way, and we're here to answer questions. So with that, I'm gonna leave you off with two things that we do periodically on the platform, two movements that can help you both strengthen and prime your mind and body. These things can be done before you ski to help you maximize your ability to move and yet stay balanced, because that's one of the biggest things. Obviously, we don't want to move and lose balance, but paradoxically, our ability to move both rotationally and fore, aft, left, right is one of the ways we use our bodies to create instability in the right places and the right times to get the outcomes we want. So here's Jenny with a couple key movements that you can try before your next ski ride to start priming your mind for being able to move more and use the shape of your body, the anatomy of your body, to get better outcomes and better results, more efficient results on the ski in the coming weeks.
Here are two exercises that we use in flow point method programming to work on balance and proprioception. The first one is going to be a 360 squat reach. So you're going to stand on one foot. Sometimes it's better to do it barefoot if you feel better with that, but you're going to stand on one leg, brace through your midline. You're going to squat down. It's not a deadlift. You're actually going to squat down with your leg, touch the floor in front of you, stand back up. Squat and reach out at about a front 45, stand up, 180, stand up, back 45, stand up, way back behind you, and then you're going to do the same thing with the other hand. So you're going to hit a back 45, stand, side, stand, front 45, stand, front. So it's 360 with the squat reach, and then you'll do the same thing on the other side. Start with one round, one circle of each, because they are hard. Progress to 2, progress to 3. That's the first one. The second one is going to be a renegade row windmill side plank. So it's 3 exercises kind of combined in one. This is really testing core strength and actually an anti-rotation. So you're trying to prevent your body from rotating as you're moving your body, moving your arms around it. So in a good strong plank position, you can have your feet a little wider to start out with. You're going to bring one arm up. You're going to rotate your body into a side plank with your arm up in the air. Drop your bottom hip towards the floor. Reach it back up towards the ceiling. Come down. Same thing on the other side. Reach up. Set it down and come back up. And you'll repeat that. To make it harder, you can hold on to some weight in your hands. Lightweight, start with like 5 to 10 pounds. If you do hold weight, make sure that it is not a round dumbbell, but actually has a flat surface, so like a hexagonal dumbbell.